Well, friends, in today's lecture we shall be discussing history and other sciences. Why we have classified this as as a separate topic? Because we are gradually progressing towards construction of history, and first we began with defining the problems. Then we are coming to how to and in the definition or defining the subject we had discussed how we should take care of facts and what are facts, causation in history, how causation is important, and other related things. Therefore, from today onwards, in the next 2 or 3 classes, we shall be dealing with what are the other sciences, taking, especially happening in faculty of sciences, the developments which are assisting us in writing our history of the past. These we can also call as auxiliary sciences. So, by other sciences, I mean that we would include preliminary discussion on auxiliary sciences of history. This will include scholarly disciplines which assist in the evaluation and utilization of historical sources. What are the sources from? And their utility lies in number one, obtaining new information about cultures and society of a particular period of history, mostly ancient and partly medieval, and in some cases modern also. Like when metros were created in India, when excavations were made for laying down the metro rails, many new things have been found which are of ancient, of medieval, and of modern age as well. That's why I am saying that, relatively speaking. This helps us in strengthening the reliability of facts and support arguments. We will begin with archaeology, where the sources are exclusively in unwritten form, because writing came very late. And therefore, the first thing I shall be dealing with is archaeology. There will be many other disciplines which we shall discuss. Archaeology comes first. Archaeology may be defined as science that deals with physical remains pertaining to the past human sciences or societies. These remains include plants and animals, wild and domesticated both, evidence about other aspects of natural environment, climate, river courses, floods, etc. Structures that human built like huts and houses, monuments. For Indus civilization, we have monumental structures. The articles they made, that is to say artifacts, and their own skeletal remains, which have been found especially at Sarai Nehra and other places. The skulls have been found at Hathnoda, so that tells us how old habitation of human beings in India can be traced, like elsewhere in the world. For prehistory and Indus civilization, archaeology forms practically the sole source of information, because as I said in the beginning, that we don't have written records, and even if writing is there in seals, they are largely undeciphered. Therefore, I say that they are unwritten. We have no written materials for this, and these do become available in the form of Indus characters. As I said, we are unable to read them, so they are at the moment they are not of much use, but in future it could be of some help once it is deciphered. Like before Ashokan inscriptions were deciphered by James Prinsep, we didn't know that, but they were there. So, it may therefore be helpful to provide some elementary particulars of the methods by which archaeologists get their data and the terms they frequently use. We should know about them. So, the two principal methods in the field of archaeology are, broadly speaking, exploration and excavation. First, I will deal with exploration. Exploration involves observation only. You go to some place and observe without disturbing the physical remains of the site. Or excavation means digging involves a deliberate disturbance of the physical remains in order to collect certain artifacts and other objects, and to study more closely the stratification And the earth has many stratifications, the color changes according to that, in which part of that marked structure you found that structures. Excavation may be either vertical or horizontal. Exploration, and now I would say something in detail about exploration. It's mainly takes on in places or sites of old settlements which can be located by mere sight by several means. First of all, what we can find, and they will tell that look here, this possibly belongs to an archaeological period. So, first of all, as I said earlier, artifacts, they will constitute the most important element for this, notably pottery, the bricks or broken pieces of bricks and other traces of old structures may be found on the surface, or the settlements may be marked by earthen mounds, which is called tells, Tells. You see, I have, tells is like this, which has a particular connotation. So, continuous habitation for long periods raises the habitational level of a site much above the general ground level, and the accumulation of dust and habitational materials get finally covered by wind blown dust so as to assume the appearance of a hillock or a mound. When you are traveling to some place, suddenly you will find there is a hillock. There is no hill around, but some raised ground is there. So, if you go through these archaeological methods, you will find that there underneath is the archaeological site. Sections of such mounds are exposed, their natural causes are there, as rainwater cuts through their slopes, and such erosions enable archaeologists to see the successive strata or cultural levels, and also pick up artifacts of various periods of habitation. Similar mound faces or sections may be exposed by human action, such as when peasants cut into their fields, they come across such a mound which is standing there and they cut by chance a part of it, then and try to, they do it in order to extend their area of cultivation, or when there is a cut made for a road. When railways were laid, then the people discovered the Indus civilization site, Mohenjo-daro. So, old walls and ditches, as they fall down or fill up, can be traced through ground irregularities. Sometimes such irregularities are hard to notice when the observer stands on the ground. So, we seek the help of other tools. One is aerial photography and geophysical surveying. Aerial photography is very useful, and whenever you are traveling from abroad or from your own place to some other place, if you are descending at the airport, you will find the kind of things I am going to say about. The slopes and the dark phases, a large dark space can be seen. So, those things also help us in making these aerial surveys possible. So, aerial photography, when you photographs taken from a plane or a balloon in the morning or evening, when the shadows cast are long, show up features of relief. I mean the bumps and the hollows that one may otherwise wholly miss. Otherwise, in the noon time you will miss it, because they are all well lighted. A similar purpose for a similar smaller areas is served by rigorous ground survey, but for large areas you will have to seek the help of aerial photography. One may measure the area of the site and establish the height above the zero level, because you will have to fix a level as base level. From there you will start moving up and say that look here, from the base level it is up to this height. On the basis, then we draw contours or elevation lines on a plan or a map. This would enable one to trace the remains of walls, roads, habitational places, ditches and so many other things. Now, geophysical surveying is another very technical thing. This is again, when I said other sciences or auxiliary sciences, I am referring to science proper, mainly most importantly physical sciences. So, geophysical surveying involves, though it is very expensive and time consuming, it enables one to explore what lies below the ground a magnetometer. You all know what is the magnetometer. That helps us to mark the presence of a buried metal tool or earth. A resistivity meter similarly can help you in indicating a filled pit or buried wall. How much can be achieved by exploration by air, ground and physical survey has been shown by a combined, German-Italian project, which was took the help of all these technologies or techniques, scientific techniques. They are attested from Mohenjo-daro, which was excavated in 1982-83 by a German-Italian team. Now, excavation. Excavation could be vertical and horizontal. Now, vertical excavation generally covers a small area, and the excavators remove the artifacts and, if necessary, cut through fixed features of one stratum to reach those of the another. Often a sondage or test trench is dug, a test kind of thing, test ditch is dug, mainly to establish the sequence of cultures. In archaeology, the archaeologists use the term stratification. The various layers of the earth, which are marked by their colors. Some will be very brown, some would be lighter, some layer would be yellow, something like that. So, if you go to any large building construction site, they cut the earth very deep, so you can see the layers with your eyes. That is what I mean by stratifications. The sides of that site, they are called sections of a trench. Whenever exposed or scraped, one can show the sequence of the strata, often marked by different colorations of the earth. As I said, colorations of the earth. It may be noted that while the layers distinguished upon digging are numbered, they are numbered in two manners. For one, I will show you from a diagram where Daimabad excavation site has been shown. So, you will find, curiously, you will find two kinds of methods are used for numerals. One is Arabic numerals and the other is Latin numerals. So, the Arabic numerals 1, 2, 3 as we write normally, while the excavator proceeds downwards, it is the reverse with the cultural phases or periods, where the lower, that is the earliest phase, is assigned a lower number in Latin numerals. So, you will find 1 written in this way, 1 will be written like this, 2 will be written like this. This is Latin. Arabic is 1, 2, 3. Now, I will tell you the significance. So, the excavator aims to reach the virgin soil, from where you find no trace of any habitational site. So, the lowest layers that bear any signs of human occupation or belong to the earliest cultural phase are assigned to phase or period 1. The other periods comprising sets of different layers that could be excavated would be numbered in Latin 2, 3, 4, etc. going upwards. This we can illustrate just now with the help of a diagram. These are numbered like this. Here it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. These are Arabic numerals. When you are coming up, from the top of the earth, you are going to the lowest site where we find the earliest evidence of habitation. So, the earliest habitation once you have reached, you will start coming upwards. So, how to distinguish the numbers? We use the Latin phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, and these phases will have broader brackets of time. Here you are finding very quick succession. There it will be quite in the time scale, you will find they are broader than this one. So, horizontal excavation normally covers much larger area, because you are horizontally expanding, otherwise you will cut deep like in vertical manner, is usually designed to expose the structural remains and settlement pattern of a particular time or stratum. Mohenjo-daro offers the classical example of a horizontal excavation, even though only a portion of the city has been excavated up till now. although it is quite expensive. So, vertical excavation could never have exposed the layout of the roads, houses, streets, their right angle turning, the drainage system and other things in the manner the horizontal excavations has done. So, the question, the issue is whether the excavation is vertical or horizontal. Much care still needs to be taken to be exercised while digging. We are not expected to, or any archaeologist is not expected to, disturb the cultural remains and their patterns. So, careless digging can destroy valuable evidence forever. For a long time, till the early 20th century, excavators tended to clear everything away until they came across stone or baked brick masonry. Now, this was a cause of major destruction of major archaeological sites. Therefore, Mortimer Wheeler, who was the director of Archaeological Survey of India from 1944 to 48, he introduced more refined methods. That is why we are taking his name today, of excavation, and his method took care of such features as rammed earth, mud built structures, different layers of soil, often to be distinguished only at first exposure. So, excavators must not only avoid harming any buried artifacts, but also avoid mixing up of different strata. The smallest things like bone fragments or seeds, tiny seeds, they have to be taken care of in order to retrieve them. So, you have to be very meticulous and you will have to do it in a very controlled manner. So, these may be recovered by simple sieving, this is another technique which is noted, or by flotation. This last, flotation requires the samples of soil excavated from a particular layer be put into a small water tank, into which air is pumped, so that the lighter material like bone fragments or seeds, they would float and they would come to the surface. Then you collect them and then do the analysis. So, without disturbing them, if you put your spade onto them, they will cut them, they will be demolished forever. So, that will be a tremendous loss for an archaeologist. Now, it is extremely important that the position of different objects at the moment of recovery is noted, how it is noted. So, it is noted by both strict 3-dimensional measurement and their context, that is to say, in relationship to other objects as well as the layer in which they were found. By layer I mean the layer of the earth where it is found, which we have already numbered in the Latin numbers. So, photography should be freely used during excavations in order to record them, document them, in order to show the important objects in situ and as they have been found. That will retain the originality of the artifact. If you manipulate them, then if you take them away and put on a table and then you do, then there is all likelihood of mixing of the dates, because you are not showing the layer. Therefore, excavation must be accompanied by close scientific scrutiny of the excavated materials. How could we do that? First, we will go by typology. Typology needs first to be determined. That is to say, the artifact should be assigned to and compared with types already established from finds from other sites. This is essential for discovering whether any relationship exists with any other culture or cultures. So, we make comparative cultural studies. They will help us that at what time they survived. Pottery often provides the primary material for comparison, since it is generally pottery that is most extensively found at all archaeological sites. Broken pieces of pottery are called potsherds. Suitable objects, that is organic material, fired pottery for example, should be sent for dating by C14 method, carbon dating method, or thermoluminescence method in laboratories with full technical details, so that we can have the exact dates of them. Similarly, the other two methods could be, we can use archaeobotany, the study of plant remains, especially grains or seeds, which our late Professor Saraswat was very competent in doing that, as well as pollens, whose study is called palynology, can tell us not only about the wild grains collected or crops grown, they will help us in distinguishing the wild from the domesticated grains, but also about the environment. The ratios between tree pollens, that is TPs, and non-tree pollens, NTPs, for example, can be of help in establishing the nature of land use at that time, forest, pasture, or cultivated land, because they will be impacting the formation of the seeds as well, formation of the grains. So this is a very major achievement in science, that they help us in assisting. Otherwise, they could have just meant something we found at one layer. But now we can make very detailed study of them and establish how old these are. Animal remains have similarly to be studied, especially owing to their importance for both the subsistence economy and the natural environment. Why I am saying this? Because if you can see from your naked eyes a bull who is loitering around on the roads and by lanes of our cities, you will find they are much robust, much stronger built than the cattle we have tied with a rope in our houses. So the bone structures of both are different, their sizes are different. So therefore, domestication, the moment domestication of cattle or plants, anything takes place, that alters the body size and the shape of certain bones, which enables bones of domesticated animals to be distinguishing from other wilds of the same species. So thus archaeology can shed much light on the development of human control over other animals. This human control comes from domestication of animals, in which, and we have proof of now from Indus civilization onwards, that some kind of early evidence of biotechnological intervention is there. When you are castrating a cattle and turning the bull into a domesticated cattle, there is a artificial intervention, and that intervention changes his entire body shape and his behavior and everything. So it should be expected that the excavator's word is always to be taken on trust. Should not be expected. Excavator might say something wrong. So how to check that? Ideally, the full original record in one form or other should be made available to the other researchers. They should not be buried at the site. They should be made available. It is also important that reports on excavated sites be published within a reasonable time. Our Archaeological Survey of India always publishes reports, and there was a time when they were regularly published. Now they are publishing, but with intermittent time gap. It is also important that reports be published. So these reports, what is the utility of these reports? These reports give you first-hand information about the site and finds in detail with maps, photographs, diagrams, drawings, and also provide scientific analysis of the excavated material by the principal investigator of that site, because he also has a team of expert archaeologists. So for us, they prepare the report, and now you can compare it. What we have described up till now is mainly field work. The interpretation, now as I was saying in my first few lectures, that these are the data, hard data. Now we have to interpret them. The interpretation of the data collected from such field work or laboratory analysis of the pollen grains or bones and other things is also very important part of archaeology. We need to gather individual pieces of evidence on related matters and construct a larger picture by filling gaps through the use of analogy. On this topic, I had earlier also said how to fill the gaps. You will have to have very controlled use of controlled speculation, not wild imagination, but historical imagination, and then logical inference from those evidence which you have at your disposal. The analogies can often be drawn most richly from what we know of societies through history, that is the past as constructed from written sources, or through anthropology, which includes the study of still existing primitive societies, like our tribal societies and the societies which are still, now there is a remote possibility, but still there are some corners where you will find the humans living in very early period of time, like so those societies can help us. When archaeologists work back from history to prehistory, then they start from the most ancient societies of that time, illuminated by written sources such as ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt, and explore the existence, origin or evolution of analogous features in societies known to us only from the archaeological remains. So, this is one of the quintessential rider being applied on archaeological interpretations. Was there is there any evidence of application of these tools in any society which was contemporary or later civilizations, where we find the use of a particular tool or anything, So, that will help us in filling the gaps. One thus looks into prehistory for events and processes occurring as they occurred in history, whether they be inventions, diffusion of techniques, the growth of class differentiation, state formation, human migrations even, or changes in languages spoken or in religious beliefs and customs. A major practitioner of this method was V. Gordon Childe the Great, 1892-1957. He died. He wrote, the books like What Happened in History, and other books are of great merit. Now, I am grateful to Indian publishers. Two of the major publishers I have found, they are republishing his works, which means despite of the onslaught from the new history, Gordon Childe still is around and is kicking. From the late 1960s, the validity of this approach began to be questioned by, proponents of what is now identified as new or processual archaeology. Notable among them, these was the famous Binford team, it is called, Sir Lewis Binford and his wife and the team. They propounded that, we should have a new approach towards archaeology. Instead of looking at events, we should look at the process. It has its own, merits and demerits, which I shall be discussing with you. Drawing their inspiration chiefly from North American anthropology, they insisted that in prehistory, one should not look for events. Events means rapid transformations. So, but only processes, that is long-term changes. So, according to them, the earlier societies took long-term changes to change their various methods and living and other things. Moreover, these historians, Binford and his followers, they hold autonomous adaptation to their environments by local societies to have been the norm in prehistory. They, of their own, this was an autonomous decision of them to adapt themselves according to the changing environment in their localities. So much so that the very term diffusion came to be regarded with suspicion. They believed that diffusion doesn't matter. The diffusion is very close to the events. Therefore, because of their impact. There was inevitably a definite inclination to exclude external factors. When you are refusing to recognize diffusion, that means you are recognizing that there is no impact of outside people or outside societies. So external factors are all together ruled out from explanations of cultural change. So in more recent years, the influence of new archaeology has perceptibly declined. It is waning, and it has already waned. There are some practitioners, I don't deny that, but they are not so prominent now. The major reason for their waning popularity seems to be that with more reliable chronology, now you have all these scientific disciplines helping you, carbon dating. I will also tell you about dating methods in my next lecture. So they all help us in having a solid data before us. So this question of surmising a process is being ruled out. So more reliable chronology is there. The expansion of archaeological data also makes it a little less attractive. So it has become obvious that both events, that is notable occurrences, phases of rapid change and diffusion, the spread of techniques, languages, ideas, they all have their due place in prehistory, even in history for that matter. So in any case, we must always bear in mind that every archaeological hypothesis or preliminary assumptions, whether based on history or anthropology, has to be tested by a very exacting, very rigorous scrutiny of evidence. It is in this manner only that our understanding of the past can grow on a reliable trajectory. In any case, we must always bear in mind the fact that every archaeological hypothesis for that matter or preliminary assumption, whether based on history or anthropology, has to be tested by a very exacting, rigorous, scrutiny of the evidence, and it is in this manner only that our understanding of the past grows. Next, I will take up the theme in my next lecture.